Hi, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Gabe Strong, a DPM video producer based in Juneau, Alaska. Here in Juneau, we don't even really have a local TV station or local newscast, but sometimes the station in Anchorage will hire me to shoot some news, and that's what I just finished up doing. I'm going to sit down here in the grass and dump the card from my FX6 to the MacBook Pro. It's a nice day out, so just kind of chilling here in the sun. Now, when you're doing news, the station typically wants you to get the footage back to them yesterday. They just want it as quick as possible. The station is, 900 miles away from me, no road in between us. So I'll be doing a file upload to get it back to them. But first I'm going to dump all the footage from the card to my MacBook Pro and do a quick edit so that I'm not sending them everything. Also, this news station just wants the footage in 1080, and I think I forgot to switch my camera over from my usual 4K 24p, so I need to down-res some of this footage and get it to them. It'll get to them quicker when I down-res it and send less. If you ever need to really get your footage compressed down, there is a free app called Shutter Encoder that I highly recommend. I can also use Apple's compressor, but Shutter Encoder is a really good cross-platform free app, and I'll put a link to it in my description on this video. So as you can see here, after I finished compressing the footage, I'm uploading it to the station using WeTransfer. There's a couple sites, WeTransfer, SendSpace, that allow you to upload files that are fairly large, 2 gigs or so, and I'm using one of those to upload this video back to the station, and I'm doing it at the local public library because they have fast fiber internet, much faster than what I have at home, and it's a nice day, so why not just plop the laptop down here on the picnic table and jump on their Wi-Fi and get the footage sent off to the news station within probably take 10 or 15 minutes to get them this footage after I compressed it down with Shutter Encoder. So I'm sending around 1.5 gigs of footage to the news station. All right, new day, new job. Here's the obligatory time lapse as I'm setting up for a multi-camera live stream and record and in-room image magnification job. And right in the middle of my setup, the lights go out. Not an ideal situation at all. So I got to run around and find someone to get the lights back on and then get back to my setup, which wasn't ideal. Again, I only had probably an hour to get this all set up, but it was fairly simple, just a 1 camera wide, 1 camera tight shoot. It's important to figure out which jobs will pay your day rate in your market. In a small market like mine, you've got to scramble to find anyone who might pay your day rate, and one good candidate is these conferences. When you have a big conference with a lot of people, they will often need audio-video support. Not only will they want to live stream the conference, in this case they also want to record it and do some editing to upload later, but they also need image magnification for the attendees. So they want the speaker to be up on a large screen so people that are sitting back away from the front of the room can still see him. They want the speaker's PowerPoint to be up on a large screen so people can view that. So I'm able to do all that at once. I will do a live multicam, 2 cameras, stream, and I will also put that up on the big screen in front along with the PowerPoint on another screen. So that's what this setup here is. You can see here this laptop on the table is the lighting laptop, which is what malfunctioned earlier when all the lights went out during my setup. And I've got set up here a old Sony FS700 for a wide shot and the Sony FX6 for the hero shot because of its great eye autofocus. I have the wide shot up now on the screen. Personally, I would have flipped the positioning here and put the video feed on the big screen behind the speaker and the PowerPoint in the one off to the side, but that's not what the client asked for. The Sony FS700 has the Sony G Master 18-105 f4, so I've just got a wide shot on that. I've got audio going into both of these cameras so that I have a feed from the podium mic. On my Sony FX6, I have a Tamron 70-180 zoomed in with eye autofocus. You can see on the big screen in the background there, I have that shot up now. I can switch between them with my switcher. The switcher I'm using is the OC Stream Deck, which you can see me opening in the video linked here. And here's a look at my multi-view monitor. You can see I've got both camera shots up, so I can see which one's going out and which one's in preview. And I can have my audio monitors down there in the bottom right as well, so I can see what I'm getting from the microphones. Now I've got my switcher resting on these little foam pads that it comes packaged within the box. This little OC Stream Deck gets really hot on the bottom. If you read the Facebook forums on this OC Stream Deck, everyone's asking what sort of fan they should buy or how they should keep it cool, and this worked really well for me, just elevating it and getting some airflow under it. Now, unlike the ATEM Mini Pro, this OC Stream Deck has multiple HDMI outputs. So you can see here I've got one running to screen 4 in the front of the room. But I did a test here so you can see in the background as I flip the T-bar, not only see it switching on my preview program monitor, but way in the background the big screen is also switching between the two camera shots. So from this switcher I'll be controlling the in-room image magnification screen, which everyone can see, as well as what goes out to the live stream. And what's really nice about this switcher is I'll also be able to record a mixed feed because it has an SD card slot where I just put an SD card in and record to that SD card the entire mixed program, and then I can do editing later if I need to, because what I'm also doing is I'm running the output from this switcher into a laptop. Now on the laptop I'm running a program called Wirecast. And if you look closely here, I'm not only streaming and recording, but I'm recording ISOs, which means I'm recording each individual camera onto the hard drive of the computer. So this will allow me to fix any mess ups I might make while I'm live cutting this program to the SD card, because I have an ISO track of each camera recorded to the computer's hard drive on Wirecast.
And continues to develop an invaluable support structure for our library. So from Cordova, we're Catherine Trudeau.
All right, next is the Alaska Association of School Libraries President, Catlin Jacobson.
Thank you, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. I am thrilled to present today our Linda K. Barrett Award for Outstanding Service.
So today I'm headed out to shoot a promo video for a local tour operator. As usual, when I'm asked to do this kind of thing, there is no script. I'm just asked to go along on the tour and get good shots of the tour guests enjoying themselves, as well as what I call the shock and awe scenic beauty and wildlife shots. Normally, I'd try to get client testimonials as well, but the client didn't want any of them this time. On a nice day like this, I'm glad to take an adventure, but these videos can be tough to put together. I kind of feel like I'm just grabbing a bunch of random shots and then somehow supposed to make the whole video make sense in the edit. Okay, now I've left the tour behind, got off the big boat where all the guests are, and I'm with the owner on a small boat trying to get shots from a different perspective as well as some drone footage. Like I said, these projects can be hard, so I thought some of you might share my pain, and I'll show you how I went about dealing with this project. Now, first of all, as I said, there's going to be no customer testimonials, and the owner also didn't want a voiceover based project, so I figured what was left was to find a good music track and go from there. I will need good visuals though, so I'm keeping my eyes open for anything neat that happens around me.
What a view, huh?
So I'm starting up my edit program of choice, Final Cut Pro, and I'm going to start out by grabbing the music track, which I've already selected. There's a lot of different sites you can go on to, Artlist, Soundstripe, MusicBed, to find music that you can subscribe to and use in your projects. Now, these music tracks won't come pre-cut to the length you need. For example, in this case, the client wants a 1 minute, 10-second long video for social media. So what I do is I'll cut the music tracks all up to fit the length I need. In this case, I'll use the start of the music track, maybe the first 10 seconds or so, and then go to the end of my project and drop in the end of the music track, maybe the last 10 seconds or so, and then I'll edit the middle portion to fit the length I need. There's a lot of repeating elements in most songs, so you can usually make this work. So there's the start of the music, and here's the transition.
If you feel alright, we can throw it in drive.
All right, that sounded good. Now let's check out the next transition.
Let the good times roll. Me and you. Let the good times roll. Me and you.
All right, so far so good. Now let's go on to this one here. All right, that one sounded a little rough, so we're going to enlarge the timeline, and we'll fade this second one in a little bit. And after we do that, we'll also extend out the first one a little to try to get the timing between the beats a little better. All right, great. That seemed to work. Now let's check out the next transition.
Let's let the good times. Let's let the good times roll.
So there we go, a 1 minute and 10 second long music track. But after all that work, we don't want to screw up the timing between these, so I'm going to select them all and create a compound clip that I'll just call music bed and use that in my final edit. Oh, I lied. I'm actually going to call it music track. All right, now that I put my music track down, I start just scanning through the video I have and grabbing different things and dropping it into the timeline. So I'm going to start out getting some shots from the beginning and showing this whole tour kind of in order. The beginning section is just a boat ride out to an island, but on the way they stop and do some wildlife watching and some whale viewing. So we're going to get shots of the boat leaving, and then maybe people pointing and taking pictures, and then shots of the whales, of the seals, anything else that looks neat. And then at the very end I have a drone shot which I captured specifically to use as the end shot with a billboard and the website and book your tour now type thing. So what I will do is I'll just go through the different video clips I have, and when I see something that looks like it might fit in one of the categories I have, there's someone looking that will fit in the middle when they're whale watching, I'll drop it into the timeline, and I just will move it kind of more towards the place that I think that it might fit. So there's a girl pointing, like she sees something neat, so I'll drop that in as well. So that's what I just kind of do, is I go through here looking at shots, and if I see something that looks good, I kind of drop it in where I think it will fit. Here's another one, someone taking a picture with her phone and pointing, so I'll probably use that as well. All right, here's a good open shot. You can see the logo of the boat and people getting on the boat and the captain bringing the boat away from the harbor. So that's what I'm kind of doing, is just putting shots in where it kind of makes sense chronologically, as if we're going on the tour with them. And I will just repeat this process until I have 1 minute and 10 seconds worth of shots, and then I'll have my rough cut. So next up is my color grading pass. I need to make sure all these shots match. You can see here I've got a drone shot followed by a ground shot from my FX6. Now for my FX6, I'm using the really popular Phantom LUTs, which is supposed to give it sort of an ARRI Alexa look. So I'll put on the neutral one and maybe tweak it a little bit from there. For my drone, I'm using an Autel Evo 2 Pro 6K. It has a 1-inch sensor and shoots 422 log footage. I have a LUT I made for it, which matches my FX6's Phantom LUT pretty closely. So now I got to go through all this footage and make sure everything has been graded with the LUT and matches fairly closely. And now this third pass, it's time for the fun stuff where we add the graphics and the titles and the sound design and everything. So let's go through it all. So here at the start, I just have a typical transition, just a fade in. So this is the logo for the tour company. You can see here as I flip it on and off. So I just added that fading in over the first shot. And now I've got a couple shots of just people getting on the boat and the captain pulling the boat away. Now these are a couple text and graphic elements that I made in Apple Motion, and so I can kind of show you those here as I can turn them on and off. We've got one kind of in the upper left-hand corner and one in the lower right. And I'll add those over the top of this video. Now here is just a transition. I'm doing a zoom transition. You can see here the center of the zoom transition. I just put it on the logo so that when it zooms out, it kind of sells this effect that I actually zoomed out with the camera as opposed to two different shots, which is what it really is. And then I added a sound effect there, a little whoosh as it zooms out. So we're going to go forward here. And we've got a drone shot. Now here is my next kind of graphical element. As the boat's driving, I put just some kind of arrows there. It's another thing I made in Apple Motion, and I keyed that over the top. Now this here, the rest of this here is a graphic element that I rotoscoped behind the boat, and I actually talk more about rotoscoping in this other video that I'll link here. So next up, I just got two different animated elements. One of them is an animated line that I made in Apple Motion, and the other is a text callout, which I motion tracked to the glacier in the shot. All right, so coming up next, we've got another graphic element here that I made in Apple Motion. All these were actually made in Apple Motion. It works really nicely with Final Cut Pro. And here's another animated line. I'll create these animated lines and objects a lot just to try to draw viewers' attention to a specific area of the video. Up next is a sequence of people pointing at something. Now, this first one I shot overcrank, so it's nice slow motion, but the second one I actually shot in normal speed, and it goes by way too fast. But luckily, Apple included in the latest version of Final Cut Pro an AI retiming feature, which really is smooth and looks pretty good even if you didn't shoot it originally in a high frame rate. So we'll quickly add that to this shot. Now here next up, we've got one more little graphic element I added of hearts, just again to draw viewers' attention to a certain area of the screen with the whales surfacing there. So I add that in. Now here we've got another transition between two shots. I've got a faraway shot where you can kind of see the spray coming up from a whale, and then a closer up shot of a whale flipping its tail, and I use the zoom blur again. Now I want to zoom in again here so you can see this a little bit better. Over here you can see the spray coming up right there from the whale, and now we're going to use the center point for the zoom, and we'll position the center point for the zoom right over the area where the spray is coming from. And then we'll also add in a transition sound effect here. This whole effect is designed to make two shots look like one, a wide shot with people watching to the close-up of the whale. On this sound design, you want to make sure the sound comes in just before this transition starts to really sell this effect right. Now next up, we've got a face-on shot of a whale flipping its tail. Really like this one. And now we're on the island going to look at the lighthouse, so I put in another text graphic element here over the top of an overcrank shot. Next up, we've got a sequence of the tour going into the lighthouse. Now, once inside, I'm going to use two different shots, one of the tour guide showing everyone around, and the second shot of a woman taking a picture of one of the billboards on the wall. And I will add a zoom transition between them and use the center point of the zoom on the billboard on the wall that she's taking a picture of. I'll also add a sound effect, a little transition whoosh, and then I'll add an iPhone shutter effect, and I want to line that right up with when the picture appears on her phone and make the shutter go off then, so it really seems realistic. So let's talk about drone shots. Usually you're trying to do them kind of slow and cinematic. In this case, I'm doing almost like a crane up shot on the lighthouse, and then I'm going to zoom into the tower. Now, I had to speed ramp this drone shot so that it would work right. So it starts out slow, then speeds up, and then we'll use the zoom blur to transition to inside the tower. Now right here in this area where the drone speeds up, we're going to add a transition sound effect. The drone starts out slow, speeds up, and then we'll add another second sound effect where we are going to put the zoom transition to inside of the tower. Here again, we're going to use the center point of the zoom and select right on top of the tower so that it looks like we're zooming right into the tower. And then from the inside the tower, we'll kind of pan across and show what it looks like in there. And then we will zoom blur out again to another drone shot on the other side of the tower showing the whole island. So it's just like this little built sequence with some speed ramping, and then I will do a little more speed ramping on the drone shot here to get all the way around the island. You can see after we zoom out from the lantern room, we have a kind of a side view of the lighthouse, and we want to get around to the front side of it, so we need to speed ramp the drone shot so that we can get to the front side of the lighthouse in the time allotted during this shot. Now this is outside. A lot of the visitors will get their picture taken in front of the lighthouse, and again, we did a little rotoscoping here to put a text element in between the people getting their picture taken and the person taking the picture with the iPhone. I also motion tracked this graphic and text element to move along with the motion of the camera in this shot. It makes it look a little more realistic. Then next up, we've got another drone shot of the boat leaving the island with the lighthouse to go do some more wildlife viewing. I made another text element to go over the top of that, and then a animated line right next to the eagle as well to draw attention to that area. So we've got the text element listing out the things you'll see and the animated line for the eagle. This next sequence is a sea lion sequence. So we've got a guy taking a picture with his iPhone, and then we'll zoom out to a wide shot of the same thing. Again, we're using this zoom blur transition and a sound effect there. And so we'll zoom out to a wide shot of him, and then we're going to now zoom in to the sea lion. So again, we're using the zoom blur transition, and we're just putting the center point in the right spot to make this look realistic. Now here we're going to zoom in to where the sea lions are in this second shot, so we'll put the center point where the sea lions are in that shot, and then we'll zoom into a close-up of the sea lions. So this whole transition will be a 3-shot sequence. So we'll start with a close-up of him, zoom back out, and then zoom into the sea lions, and we'll add a little animated element here to draw attention to the sea lions. Kind of a little starburst. Up next here is an overcrank shot of a sea lion jumping onto a buoy. And we're going to do some graphic treatment here. We're going to not only rotoscope some text and graphic elements behind the buoy, we're also going to motion track those elements to the motion of the buoy and add a third graphic element, kind of a circle swirl, to draw attention to the sea lions on the buoy in front of everything. And then we will wipe to the last shot, which is a drone shot with the Book Your Tour Today behind the island. We rotoscoped that behind that island moving, and then we add in a little graphical transition wipe where we wipe the logo on and the website where you can book your tour today. So that's kind of how I made sense out of putting together this video with not a whole lot of direction. Let's take a look at the completed project. So there you go, a look back at a week as a video producer and DP in Alaska. Have a good week, and we'll talk to you next time.